In the previous module, we discussed how HTML comes with a huge catalogue of different elements that have different semantic meaning and default function. To configure the behavior of each HTML element, you can use attributes, which are additional values added to HTML elements that allow browsers and assistive technologies to better understand the function of your HTML. Attributes are added to HTML elements in the form name equals value. For example, on an anchor tag used for links, shown as an A in the element tree, you use the href attribute with the value of the link you want to navigate to in the browser when the link is clicked. Let's take a look at a quick example. Here we have an HTML button element. To add and configure attributes on this button, click to select it in the element tree and open the Attributes panel by clicking the Attributes tab in the right panel or press A on your keyboard. To add a new attribute, click the plus button next to Attributes. Each HTML element accepts a specific collection of attributes. Now, no one is ever expected to memorize which attribute names and values you can use on each HTML element, and the Nordcraft editor helps us out here. For each type of HTML element, you'll find a list of compatible attributes, along with a description of what that attribute is used for. And if you know what you're looking for, you can start typing to filter the results in the list. For example, to this button element, we can add a type attribute, which specifies the behavior type of that button. Click to add that attribute and click in the input field to choose the value for that attribute from a pre-populated list. You can also freely type into this field. The default type for a button is button, which doesn't add any extra functionality to that element. However, if you're building a form, such as a sign-in form, you'll want to use type submit, so the browser knows to submit the form when the button is pressed. Additionally, you can use type reset to clear all fields in a form. Let's take another example. Say you have an HTML anchor tag that points to a link you want to open in a separate browser tab. You can add an attribute, find target, and select blank. All of this functionality comes built into HTML via attributes without the need for any extra configuration. That's pretty cool, right? You'll also notice the HTML tag name at the top of the Attributes panel for the selected element. If you find that you've added an element to the element tree that isn't fit for its functional purpose, for example, maybe you added a button for a link when you really needed an anchor tag, you can change the type of HTML element from this dropdown without needing to delete it and add a new one. And these tag names are categorized in the same way as in the HTML element catalog. As with anything in web development, the use and function of HTML elements and their available attributes is something you learn as you build your projects and gain experience. A general rule of thumb when adding HTML elements to your pages is to ask yourself, is this the correct semantic element for this purpose? And what attributes do I need to configure in order for the browser to understand how this element should function? And if you're still unsure, you can always ask the AI assistant for help.